You are a therapist or psychologist practice owner. And if I stopped you on the street and said to you, would you like your business to be profitable? Would you like to take money out of your business and be able to fund your personal life and get the things that you want and need for yourself and your family? I'm pretty sure that you would say, yes, of course I want that. That's why I'm in private practice, or that's one of the many reasons that I'm in private practice, right? We are all doing this because we need to support ourselves in a business. That's why we have a business. However, there is an interesting paradox that I see in a lot of successful private practice owners. And I'm seeing this across the board with just practice owners that I know who are talking to me about finances, to practice owners that I'm doing consultation with, to friends of mine, seen in Facebook groups sometimes. And I realized that there is this problem where sometimes we are profitable. We have the profit, but it is sitting in our business account and we are scared. We are, for some reason, not taking that profit and moving it over into our personal accounts. So we have this illusion that we're not profitable and we're not making money, but that's because we're not actually taking the money, putting it into our own account where we can use it or invest it. And it's an extremely interesting paradox. And that's what this episode of Worth It Practice is all about. Before we get into why it is that people are not taking their profit and moving it over to their personal account, I want to give you a little bit of a rundown about what profit as a word means. Because to be honest with you, when I first started my practice, I didn't know what anything on a profit and loss statement meant. But just in case you don't know, revenue is the amount of money that your business generates. Then you have business expenses, and your profit is what's left over. Your profit is what you get to bring home and put into your bank account. Now, do you get to keep all of your profit? No, because some of it's going to go to taxes. But that is your money. That is what you have earned that you can do what you want with. You can invest it, you can save it, you can spend it, you can pay off debt with it, right? That is your money. But what I often see is that when businesses are doing well and they're generating even sometimes very significant profit, practice owners are really hesitant to take that money that they've earned and put it in their own account. Instead, they leave it in the business account, just accruing and accruing and accruing, while they have expenses that they actually need money for, or investments that they'd actually like to make, or retirement that they'd actually like to fund in their own personal account. So why do we do this? What are some reasons that practice owners are, I'm going to say it, afraid to take profit and put it in their own account once they've earned it? One reason is that sometimes the idea of actually making money in our practices is scary to us, which goes along with this good therapist mentality. I really love Felicia's podcast, the Good Therapist podcast, because she talks a lot about how therapists are conditioned to believe certain things. One of the things that we are conditioned to believe is that if we are making money, we are doing it wrong. We are probably unethical. We are probably bad people somehow. This idea that therapists should be poor, therapists should not bring home real money is ingrained in us throughout a lot of our education. And it's interesting, most professions don't have that built in. Find a plastic surgeon who thinks that they should not be well compensated. You probably won't. But this is something that many, many, many psychologists and therapists believe. So then what happens when you're having a successful business and you are making money? Like you're generating maybe way more money than you were when you worked in that hospital setting. It was very prestigious, but not well paying. And suddenly you might take that money and you'd have to put it in your own account. And there's this psychological barrier to what does it mean if I take that money and I acknowledge that I earned it and this is the income that I have. And it can be genuinely scary at times. There have been moments, even for me, when I have paid myself and taken out my profit and had a moment of like, do I deserve this? Am I supposed to make this? Like, they're just moments that are scary because it is definitely more than I made working in community mental health or in fancy research institutes. And so there's that discrepancy. So sometimes we're afraid of the financial success. Does it mean we were greedy? And also, because other practice owners judge each other so critically online, I've seen people say, well, if you're making good money, then it means you're doing something unethical. If you're a group practice owner and you're profitable, you must be somehow abusing the people working in your practice. I don't agree with this at all. I can think of a lot of practice owners, including myself, who treat people very well, and they're also making good money. But there is just that fear of what does it mean about us? And honestly, the fact that I've even talked about this so long in this episode says something about our culture. So there's that fear. What if I take this home? Maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe instead I should give bonuses to everybody else. Maybe I should just leave it there and not think about it because taking it home is too scary. So that's one reason. Another reason that I see people afraid to take the profit that they have earned and move it into their personal account is that they are afraid that somehow they're going to starve their business. They're afraid that if they take it out, then some huge expense will come up in their business and they won't be able to pay it. That's a really scary thought for people. Now, here's one thing I'll tell you. If you take the money out and you put it in your personal account, as long as you don't spend any of it, if you realize that you've taken too much out, you can put some back. I actually have an entire podcast episode about a time where I got confused and I wasn't paying attention to cash flow and I overdrew my account $6,000. I took it and I put it in my personal account and then looked at it later and thought, oh no, I have messed up. And you know what happened? I put the money back. It was fine. It was painless. There were no consequences for that. So it is possible if down the line, if your business needs an infusion of money, as long as that money is still around in savings or, maybe in investments in your personal account, you can loan it back to your business. You can put it back in there. So there's no real reason to be terrified that you're going to take that money out. Now, you can definitely have a buffer. You can decide something like, well, I need 1 to 3 months of expenses and I need to leave that in my business account at all times. And then once that's there, you can take other money out. But I think that's where there's fear. Like, it feels virtuous to save into the business account. Ooh, I'm just reinvesting. I'm just reinvesting my money. And it's like, what about you? Didn't you make all this money so that you could take some home? That is why you have the business. It's okay. And I'll add, there's some flaws to leaving a lot of money in your business account. And one of those flaws is that it can be easier to overspend on things without noticing. Someone just wants a raise. You don't calculate whether that makes any sort of sense. You're like, sure, go ahead, you can have it. And then what you don't realize is that it is actively cutting in and damaging your business in a way that you actually can't afford. But because money is just saved in there, you don't really see that happening. You don't notice when you're overspending. You don't pay that kind of attention to the different costs and expenses that you have. That's actually what Profit First is really about in philosophy. If you're familiar or heard about that at all, it's about taking your profit and putting it into an account and then basically deciding how much you're going to spend on expenses so that it forces you to be really aware of what you're spending. Another way of doing that is to take out your profit, put your buffer in another account, and then you'll really see what you should spend in terms of expenses. But again, maybe it feels virtuous. You know what's funny about it, though, is that we get taxed on that money, whether it's in our personal account or in the business account. We still get taxed. So it's not like you can leave it there and then not pay taxes on it. You're going to pay taxes on it either way. It's just in one place, it's in the business, and there are limited options to what you can do with it. And in the other place, it's in your personal account, and you can be using it however you want to support yourself and your family. So those are two reasons that I really noticed that people tend to avoid this. The third reason that I've noticed that practice owners leave their profit in their business instead of taking it out is because they are so afraid to look at their business finances that they don't even really know that it's there. So imagine this. Imagine that you have an S Corp and you're paying yourself whatever you and your accountant have decided a reasonable salary is. But a reasonable salary for tax purposes might not actually be enough money for you to survive on in a meaningful way. So maybe you are getting paid that salary and that money is automatically coming out into your account. So some money's coming in. But just looking in there, the finances is just scary. So you're just taking what's coming out of your salary, but you're not taking the distribution, and you're not even paying attention to how much is actually in there. So there might be more money that you could be taking out in a safe and reasonable way, and you just don't even know about it because you're avoiding every single thing about your finances. And that makes sense. So there's a lot of reasons why money and finances and identity all come into this, plus this overwhelming belief that so many psychologists and therapists have that they are bad at money and could not possibly understand it, which is so incredibly untrue when you think about how smart we are, how much we've done to get where we are, and the fact that we can learn anything, including things about numbers and finances. And that it's completely possible for us to be able to look at this and understand this and really benefit from our profit. Now, why is it important to take your profit when you should? Well, for a couple reasons. One, just the basics so you can provide for your family. That's a good reason. Second, if you have the money, then you can actually be using it to generate more money through things like investments, through things like retirement accounts. This is where bringing on a financial advisor can be helpful. What do I do with the money? Maybe I don't know what to do with it. It's fine. There are people who can tell you what to do with it, but you can't use it. You can't grow it if it's just sitting in a checking or savings account in your business. The other reason is that there's something psychologically important about seeing yourself as profitable in order to grow your confidence as a business owner. You may have this untrue belief that you are not profitable simply because your profit is not moving into your account, versus when you see yourself on a regular basis taking out profit and putting it in your personal account, it starts to tell you something about yourself. You're like, look, I'm able to bring home money. Oh, I'm able to pay myself above my reasonable salary. Oh, maybe that amount's increasing. Maybe I'm good at this. Maybe I can trust myself. Maybe I can support myself. Maybe I'm good at this. That fear that we're not good at this, so we're not going to look at it, but you can prove to yourself, look, the profit is there. I'm taking it out. I can get comfortable with this. And the more you do it, just like the more you do anything, which we all know from exposure therapy, the easier it becomes, the more normal it becomes, and it becomes something you can track and understand. And then if there's a huge dip, then you get to say, what happened? Did something go wrong? Or was it the seasonality? Like, what happened? And what can I do to prevent that from happening again? Or is there something broken in my system? You start noticing things more when you are tracking your profit. It changes your fundamental relationship with your business. So if all of this scared you and you're like, the profit, and I don't know what to do about it, or like, yeah, Leah, like I actually have a lot of money sitting over there and I just don't know what to do to bring it over and it's scaring me. This is something I can help you with. This is something that I actively do in my own practice. It's important to me to have an ethical, well-run practice where we are doing everything we can to help children and families, where everyone who works for me is feeling financially supported, and also where I can make the money that I need to make in order to support myself and my family unapologetically. So I practice this myself. So I'm pretty good at that. And if you're struggling with becoming profitable, That's something that I also help people with all the time. There are sometimes just some very specific tweaks that you can make, some things that are hard for you to see because you're emotionally attached or too close to what's going on. And with some changes, the profitability really increases. So I hope this was helpful to you. Might have stirred up some feelings for you. If it has, let me know. But I hope you're having a great week. I hope there is lots of profit coming into your practice and you're putting all of the profit that you can into your personal account and you're feeling abundant and you're doing what you need to do for yourself. And I will talk to you another time.